You're now listening to the Lone Wolf
the Lone Wolf podcast.
Me and my friends have a friend called Michael. Me and my friends. Well, me and my friends have a message for you, Michael. Me and my friends. Well, come on, Michael. Push a little harder. Try a little more. Get your feet on the floor. Come on, Michael. You can make it if you want to. It's just not the same without you.
I shipped up to Boston to find my wooden leg, except two things. I don't have a wooden leg, and I flew. And I flew Southwest, and it was very pleasant. Shouts out to Southwest. I've never had a bad flight. I've had like one delay, but it was only like, I think it may have been like an hour, which isn't anything compared to my 3-hour flight, my first time flying United to San Francisco. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of document my trip to Boston. I was like traveling to what's really nice about living in Illinois is that it looks more eastern on the geographical map. So to go to the coast, it's only like 2.5 hours versus if you want to fly to California, it's like 4. So shouts out to the East Coast, even though I think the Pacific Ocean, just the West Coast and the PNW, the Pacific Northwest is like geographically, it's just got the East beaten every way, in my opinion. But yeah, flew to Boston. Nothing really interesting about the flight. Pretty smooth takeoff from Lambert. Seems like compared to like Boston, Logan, and New York City, Lambert, you just get off the damn runway and you get up into the air a lot quicker than you do with these other cities. I swear it felt like it took like a fucking hour. We're just sitting on the runway at Boston Logan waiting to take off back to go west back home to Missouri. But that's a little bit more in the future. My first day, I got to take a neat little tour of Fenway. It's really cool just to see Fenway in person. I mean, that and Wrigley are pretty much the only 200-plus-year-old historical ballparks left. I got to learn about all the neat quirks about Fenway, and let me just get into them. For anyone who's a baseball fan that's listening that doesn't know, the reason why the Green Monster is there is because, actually, you know what? Let me start off generally, like with the ballpark as a whole. The reason why it's so boxy looking and small, and why there's not really any foul line territory, like it has the least amount of foul territory of any ballpark whatsoever, and like by a lot. There's like 5 streets that surround Fenway, and unlike ballparks that are usually built, they buy a plot of land and they kind of plan the streets around that. There was already existing streets, and there was just these empty acres. So I forget whoever bought it, bought this spot and decided to build a ballpark there. So that's why it's very boxy and not very like. It only holds about like 24,000 people. I guess that might be the same size as Wrigley, but there's that. And then there is the Green Monster. The reason why that is so tall is because when it was in its early days, there apparently was a car sales. What are those called? A car dealership, and they kept complaining, I guess maybe even filing lawsuits about the balls flying, out of the ballpark and hitting the ballpark. So they built this massive wall. That's God knows how maybe like 100 or 200 feet long, but 37 feet high. And there's apparently a ladder. There's just a ladder that leads. I mean, I guess it leads to the stairs on top of the Green Monster, but it doesn't really go anywhere on the bottom part. But they basically the reason the ladder was there is because before. I guess maybe, you know what it was? Before they built the wall, they had just had a net. That was the way to catch balls and prevent them from hitting the cars. But basically, the ladder was there they would have someone, I guess in between innings or after the game, they would go fish the balls out of this net. And then after the net was done away with, they built this wall, but they forgot to take down the ladder. But that's just one of those quirks. They said balls will actually hit off of that ladder and that could end in triples or inside the park home runs. It's just one of those neat little ballpark quirks, which is what I love so much about baseball. So if you ever at Fenway and see that stupid that stupid ladder there, now you know why. It's just a colossal oversight by people in the past, and also I guess the Yawkey brothers. They're the one who because I think they were thinking about destroying Fenway, but the Yawkey brothers or something like that. It's maybe a couple relatives named who had the last name Yawkey. They bought it, and as a way to commemorate the ballpark to them, they put their names in Morse code in between the what is it called? The scoreboard for the current game and the out of town ballparks, which it's like I think, yeah, along with Wrigley, it's one of only two ballparks that still does the whole 10 sheet thing where they have people putting the updated scores instead of just showing it up on the huge jumbotron, which I think Fenway also does that too. It's also Fenway has the only wooden seats in any ballpark. It was kind of an extension onto the ballpark because at first the ballpark only held like 9,000 people and they had to quickly expand it. And for some reason, they never really renovated the chairs. So there's like a section there that has wooden chairs. So that I thought that was pretty neat too. And then of course, what is it called? Comiskey? No, not Comiskey. Oh my God! Basically the right field pole. It's I think it was just kind of one of the design things I had to work with, but they nicknamed it after a player who was kind of like, he was really good. He's actually a Hall of Famer, but he wasn't really a home run hitter. But the few home runs he did have was just he would crowd the plate and get up in the box and just hook them right around this little pole. So they called it, oh God, it's like Kaminsky's pole, or I forget what the hell it's called. Other than that, there was kind of neat little factoids here and there, but I figured for any baseball fans out there, if you want to kind of appreciate the ballpark and how historic it is and how quirky it is, I figured I'd give you a little summary on why it is historic and quirky, and why, if you haven't been, you definitely ought to go. But that was followed by later on the night, I went to Wahlburgers before the game, and before I even get into it, I really should have just ate something after I did that tour, ate something big and then took a nap and not worried about getting there at the first inning. I should have slept until I absolutely knew I was rested fully from flying and just all the just how tired you can get from traveling and all the kind of toll that can take on you mentally and physically. But I didn't do that because I'm not wise sometimes. But ate at Wahlburgers. What's unique about them is they put government cheese because they were raised on that, because they were kind of raised in the poor, one of the poor, I don't want to say suburbs or surrounding towns of Boston, and the result was pretty good. The toasted buns mixed with the government cheese almost gave it this toasted cheese taste to it, but then you throw burgers into it. But yeah, that's what I had for lunch, and then I went to a Fenway, and this is where I said I wish I would have just slept in a lot more. I was at a Yankees Red Sox game at Fenway. That's the rivalry you want to see. But as the game progressed, my energy, my enthusiasm just started to drain, and I realized why. This happened to me the past 3 times. I've been to Pittsburgh, I've been to New York City, and now Boston. Past 3 times I've flown east. I was starting to get a sinus headache, and this one really wasn't that bad, but because I'm kind of focusing on it and rubbing my head and trying to calm myself down, and just the energy it takes for my body to deal with it, it totally drained me. So I ended up actually leaving at the bottom of the 6th or the top of the 7th, and it was cool to see the game. I'm glad I got to be there and be at this historic ballpark, but I wish I would have been so much more energetic and rested and just been much more just felt present there and alive there, and the thing that really bummed me out the most, and I didn't realize they didn't do it until the middle of the 8th, not the middle of the 7th, was I missed singing Sweet Caroline there with a pretty much sold out crowd. So that was kind of a bummer. But yeah, went home, and then to be honest with you, Boston's really cool, like historic wise. There is a lot of cool stuff to see, like the Paul Reverend House and the oh god, what else? Yeah, the Paul Reverend House. You get to see like the old state capitol. It's like this old school, almost looks like literally an old school. Next to all these, monoliths of glass and steel, kind of the modern day architecture. Other than that, other than like Fenway, that was actually my main reason from going. It was just cool to kind of, like see the historic stuff, see the Paul Reverend House, see. I didn't get to see the Boston Harbor, and I will say this: I'm actually ashamed of myself. I drank tea in Boston, and I'm ashamed to call myself American after I did that. But yeah, between that, I just kind of sight saw. I know that's probably not there's not a past term for sightseeing, but fuck it, I'll use it. I sight saw, and yeah, I got to see like a cool bridge. I got to hang out near some waterfronts. Got to see some cool statues of some historical figures. Although I'm sure if the liberals had their way, any historical white male could get removed. But I'm glad they haven't done that. But yeah, to be totally honest with you, I think a lot of I could have explored a lot more, but I think it was just, it was kind of shortened by the fact that it was just so fucking hot out there. Oh my God. Oh, you know what? Before I even rush this, I want to just get into the food. That's kind of the excitement for me to go to these cities. I got to try a lobster roll, which it was good, but holy shit. I realized how fucking expensive lobster is. This lobster roll I got, which after reading the Google reviews, is apparently one of the, it's decently priced, but you can definitely get more at other places, but it's basically just a bun with lobster in it, and then at this certain one, they put mayonnaise on it. You can either put mayonnaise or hot butter, or maybe both if you want to. I don't know how good that would taste. Yeah, I did that. Did the clam chowder. Clam chowder was delicious. I'm glad I tried that. Tried the Boston cream pie. Boston cream pie is good, but it's like, eh. I feel like you could just, at least at this place I got, this little store I got at, I feel like you could get Boston cream pie that quality anywhere. My most favorite part though was I was basically trying, getting a taste of Philly, but in Boston. I went to this place called Paulie's, on the north end of Boston, which is where a lot of the historical stuff is and where all the snobs are. I went to this place called Paulie's, and I got this thing called the Fat Felix, which wasn't my original intention. I was actually going to go to this place to get lobster mac and cheese, which it's exactly sounds like it's mac and cheese, but it looks like kind of like more craft mac and cheese, not like the company, more like craft as in like craft style. They're precise about what they want to do with this. But yeah, this mac and cheese, they throw lobster in, but it was going to be like $16. I'm like, you know what? Fuck that. Instead, I got this thing called the Fat Felix, and oh my God. It reminded me of a horseshoe. It was one of the best sandwiches I've had. It was basically a horseshoe sandwich. If you don't know what a horseshoe is, it's basically Texas toast, hamburger, or chicken, or ham. On top of that Texas toast, covered in fries, smothered in cheese sauce. This sandwich is basically kind of the sort of the same thing, but there was no hamburger patty at the bottom. Instead, it was like Philly cheesesteak, all the toppings on that. Then on top of that, they threw fries and cheese sauce, and it was a perfect thing to eat. It felt like the only real belly stuffing meal that I had there. Yeah, other than Fenway and that meal, it was just a mix with a lot of that's kind of neat touristy stuff. I feel like my experience could have been a lot better if it was like I said earlier, if it wasn't so fucking hot. I left the Midwest to go east, and I thought, hey, it's gonna be, it's gonna be a little bit more, I guess, cool out here, especially because it's the East Coast, right next to the Atlantic Ocean. Hell no. Dude, it was like 96 the entire time I was there with like 45% humidity. And mind you, I'm walking like 10 plus miles a day, and it was just brutal. And I think like the second day I was there, I was already all ready to go home, but I toughed it out, and I'm glad I did. It was only like a 3-day thing. Caught the flight back to St. Louis, and I'm glad I did it. I'm satisfied that I did it. Now I can say that the 2 last historical ballparks that that are left, I've been to, and someone told me they're thinking about doing like some major renovations, and that could possibly change a lot what Fenway looks like. So I'm glad I got there before then. I wish I would have done that before they added all this fancy shit to Wrigley, but oh well, didn't do that. But yeah, super satisfied. As a baseball fan, I got to do that. Glad that I got to go to another East Coast place, another East Coast city. But yeah, to be honest with you, I don't even know if I have much else to say about that. It was a cool trip. Not as cool, and definitely not as photogenic as San Francisco. San Francisco and Chicago and like New York City are like top 3 when it comes to like photogenic cities, in my opinion. St. Louis is pretty photogenic too, but only if you know like a lot of the hidden gems, which because I live in Alton nearby and I have a lot of photographer friends, I kind of know. But definitely book a trip out there and definitely go to Fenway. I think if you're just a fan of baseball and sports, it's definitely a must. But yeah, this has been my Boston episode. Thank you so much for listening to this one and my San Francisco podcast and my podcast with Colton Bunnell, because I'm probably just going to release them all 3 very close to each other because I haven't done a podcast in like 2 months. But yeah, man, I appreciate anyone, everyone at all who streams this, who downloads this. I appreciate every single one of you, especially the international ones. That shocks me that someone in Sweden or these other European countries or anywhere somehow found this podcast and then actually cared to listen to it. I appreciate every single one of you, and have a great day. Thanks for listening. Yeah, signing off.